Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today's video is going to be a scrapbook with me, so it's going to be the first video in this series. I am going to be scrapbooking my cancer journey, and I just wanted to do a little bit of a disclaimer before we get started. So there are going to be some graphic images in this video from my diagnosis, so if you're really sensitive to that, then maybe this video isn't for you. I'm going to have a lot more scrapbook with me's in the future, but I did speed up this video, so hopefully if you are sensitive to it and you just want to watch this video, that it goes by fast. But the reason I want to include these images is because not only I want to include them so it's something I can look back on and really see everything that happened to me and how far I've come, but also, to spread awareness, and that, these were my symptoms that I was having, and at the beginning nobody believed me. So always though, if you are having symptoms of something, don't rely on the internet. Please go and see a doctor to get that figured out. So first these are actually some ultrasound images. So the first 3 of them are from the first initial day that I went to the hospital, and then the second set of 3 are from when my uterus actually inverted. So if you haven't seen my full diagnosis story, I will leave it linked in the cards above, but here I'm just laminating some sheets. Also, I have some pictures of my MRI when my uterus was inverted, and the white paper is actually the MRI report, and the top picture is not my MRI, but it's one that I wanted to put in there to compare it. It's a normal, how the uterus normally looks under an MRI. And then here I actually made some labels with my Cricut, so I'm just putting them on this piece of cardstock, and I got this cardstock from Michael's, and I thought it stood out a lot better on this blue, and it kind of matches the overall scrapbook paper that I am putting all of this on. So some of the labels are some of the dates that I went to the hospital, and also I typed out uterine inversion, so I'm using these labels on those laminated sheets. And these laminated sheets you'll see at the end, but I'm using them kind of like an extra piece to, like an interactive piece to the scrapbook. You'll see what I mean at the end, but I'm just placing them and using this roll-on tape that I got from Michael's, and you'll see later that I do actually reposition those labels. So once I was finished with that, I really liked how the first 3 labels looked like on the navy blue paper, so I went ahead and transferred all the other labels that I made onto this navy blue paper. So January 14th was actually the day that I had emergency surgery. So if you're not familiar with my story, I went to the emergency room because I had very, very heavy bleeding, and they thought at first that they were fibroids in my uterus, but it turned out to be a cancerous tumor. So I went to emergency January 4th, got a ultrasound January 5th the next day, and then I was supposed to have an MRI the next week, but I ended up in the hospital before then when my uterus inverted, and I finally got the MRI that showed that my uterus inverted, and my first surgery was scheduled on the 14th. So here are the graphic images, and I wanted to include these again, as I said, as I think it's important. And this first picture that I cut down, that was actually a blood clot that I had earlier, I think it was either November or December, and I showed my family doctor and she didn't really seem concerned. And I showed the first emergency doctor that I saw, and he basically just told me I should probably go see a gynecologist, which I was in the process of trying to see a gynecologist, but it was a really long wait time. And then what you're seeing that I cut out here is actually the initial ultrasound that they took on January 5th and their findings, and that's when they thought that they seen fibroids. And the reason they wanted to do an MRI is because I did a ultrasound back in November because I was having some of the symptoms, heavy bleeding, and they thought I had bacterial vaginosis. But when they did that first initial ultrasound back in November, there was nothing. And quickly at the beginning of January, there was 2 masses, which my family doctor actually told me that that's way too fast for fibroids. Fibroids take a lot longer to grow like that, so that's why they wanted to do an MRI. And then the other 2 pictures are from January 4th when I was pretty much hemorrhaging, but I thought it was my period at the time. And all that blood is from after only 10 minutes, which is pretty crazy now looking back at it. And then also I'm just cutting down some of my hospital bands. So these were the 3 main hospital bands I had when I was at my local hospital. The first one was that first initial visit, and then one of them was when I was admitted for my surgery, and then the other one was actually for the hysterectomy, but I thought I'd put it on this page because it has the name of the oncologist that I was assigned, and she was amazing. And also my gynecologist who did the first initial surgery, he was so kind, and he really made me feel calm even in like a really difficult time and a really uncertain time. So I'm really thankful for him. And so I'm just taping everything down once I like how it's arranged. And I ended up putting this pink cardstock behind these pictures because I just thought it made it look a little more put together and added another element to match the back paper. And that booklet of scrapbook paper that I showed at the beginning, that is from Michael's, but I got it quite a while ago, so I'm not sure if it's still available. And so on to the next page. So here I have the note from my oncologist with the diagnosis and some of the history. So I thought I would include that on this page. And so I'm just cutting down the paragraph that I want to include. And the top title is the actual name of the cancer I was diagnosed with. So it's called uterine embryonal rhabdomyosarcoma, and that weird looking thing on the right hand side is actually my tumor. And my gynecologist, he actually took a picture of it because when they learned that my uterus had inverted, they were pretty much baffled because they had never heard of that happening to anyone, any female, without it being caused by vaginal birth. And I've never given birth to a baby before, so they were taking pictures and documenting because they were thinking of doing a case study. So that's why I have the pictures, and he sent them to me because he actually showed them to me when I was out of surgery, and I requested that he send them to me. And so I'm just positioning everything how I want it to be. So January 14, as I said, was when I had the surgery, so I put that date beside the picture of my tumor. And a fun fact is my tumor was 7.5 centimeters. And down at the bottom, you can see a very sad Becky down there at the bottom. My diagnosis date was January 26, 2021. And I asked my mom to actually take this picture of me because I wanted to document this day, and I wanted to take a picture and compare it to this picture on the day that I knew that I was cancer free and that I beat cancer. So that's why I have this in here, and then I also put an extra picture from the surgery on the back of that laminated sheet. So this is a scrapbook that I'm using. It's from Recollections, and I was gifted this a while ago, so again, I'm not sure if they still have this one in stock, but I am starting to assemble the pages into the scrapbook. And so, like I said at the beginning, I wanted to make these little sheets sort of interactive, so they're kind of be like little windows, sort of. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but what I'm doing is I am using this big clear thick packing tape, and I'm putting a piece at the side of the laminated sheet, and then I'm folding that over the scrapbook page, so you can just kind of open it and close it. And I'm also doing that with the other side with the second laminated sheet that I made. So here are the finished pages. I think they turned out really well, and I hope if you watched this video you got something out of it, whether it was to inspire you to get into scrapbooking, or if you are into scrapbooking but you haven't done it in a while, to do some scrapbooking, or if you're watching this video just to hear my story. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video.